12-year-old Harding also coaches the Stockton Kings in the G League. Last season, she was named G League Coach of the Year. Harding was the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft in 2007 and played 9 seasons in the league. Harding becomes the 4th female assistant in the NBA. Today is another opportunity to evaluate Bronny James with the Lakers rookie team. The Lakers are playing the Atlanta Hawks rookies in the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. Atlanta's first-round pick, Zachary Rasacher of France, will be in the lineup. Rasacher was the #1 pick in the NBA draft in June. Tip-off time tonight at 6:30 on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Editorial, for the 2nd consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising@KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
I'm Tavis Smiley. Glad to have you tuned in, repeating our breaking news of the hour in case you did not hear it moments ago. U.S. Congressman Adam Schiff, now running for the U.S. Senate here in California, where I sit. This program is heard across the country, and I'm grateful for that. But here in California, he is about to become, according to the polls, the new senator from the state of California. Dianne Feinstein, as you know, died in office. LaFonza Butler, the sister, was appointed by Gavin Newsom, the governor, to hold that seat until an election could be called. And so Adam Schiff, if he beats L.A. Dodger great Steve Garvey, will become the next senator from the state of California. That's a big deal, number one. Around the country, you may know the name Adam Schiff because he's the guy that led the impeachment hearing against Donald Trump, the first impeachment hearing. He was the House manager and led that hearing quite successfully. Adam Schiff led that, and he is obviously in the inner circle, at one point chair of the House Intelligence Committee. So he's a big-time Democrat and in the inner circle of those who've run the House for quite some time now. He came out moments ago and said that Joe Biden should drop out of the presidential race. And so this slow drip that was starting to, I think, slow down a bit more over the past few days, particularly as the Republican convention is underway in Milwaukee. That story is sort of tamped down just a little bit about Joe Biden being pushed off the ticket. Well, Adam Schiff has started that faucet running again with this announcement today that he should stand down. I don't really know why Adam Schiff would do that today. I can't get inside his head. He has been a guest on this program many times. We're reaching out to him now to see if he can come on tomorrow for a few minutes. We'll see if he says yes or no. Come on tomorrow to explain his decision and why he did it now. Why would you do that now? In the midst of the Republican convention, you know, they're about to coronate Donald Trump. You take a swipe at your guy. Like, why now? I don't understand the thinking and the timing of Adam Schiff's statement, nor is it for me to figure out. I ain't Adam Schiff. I ain't running for the Senate. I suspect it may do with all this Hollywood money that's in his campaign coffers. He is running for a senator in the state of California, and there's a lot of Hollywood money, a lot of George Clooney's who are putting money in his pocket, in his campaign. I shouldn't say in his pocket. Don't want to accuse him of stealing money or misusing or misappropriating funds in his campaign. A lot of Hollywood money. And so maybe the force of Hollywood has been weighing on him to come out and make this statement. I don't know, but if he comes on tomorrow, he'll explain it for himself. But Adam Schiff is now the highest-ranking Democrat. Here's the bottom line. He's the highest-ranking Democrat now to call for Joe Biden to step aside. The question is, between now and Sunday, when they are apparently going to begin the virtual roll call to give Joe Biden the official nomination, now that Trump is the official nominee of the Republican Party, will there be other prominent Democrats between now and Sunday to come out and say that Joe Biden ought to stand down? And if not stand down, at least the DNC ought to slow up. There are two options here: to force him to stand down or to force the DNC to slow up the process of this virtual roll call that's supposed to begin on Sunday. Anyway, it's a big deal that Adam Schiff, a major Democrat, has joined others saying that the president should stand down. So we will see how this story develops between now and tomorrow, and be prepared to talk about it on tomorrow's program when we convene again. In this hour, our final hour today, two conversations as promised. On the B side of this hour, speaking of presidential politics, we'll talk to the president of Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship, David Jenkins. Will share his thoughts on the ultra-MAGA Trump-Vance ticket and the future of conservatism in America, given that tonight, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, will give his speech at the RNC, and then tomorrow night, the big speech from Donald Trump. But as promised, we commenced this hour with this. Yesterday, in advance of last night's All-Star game in Texas, we spoke with the most celebrated black manager in all of Major League Baseball history. Dusty Baker was on this program yesterday. And Dusty was telling me yesterday how he just got over, wait for it, COVID. Well, as it turns out, Dusty Baker ain't the only one, because the COVID cases are once again on the rise, say nothing of the toll that extreme summer heat is taking on fellow citizens from California to the Carolinas. When we come forward, we'll commence a conversation with our resident physician, Dr. Robert Drummond, to talk about what's behind these rising COVID numbers and what advice he has for those who are suffering from extreme heat all across the country. This is the new normal, right? Or the new abnormal of these strange and bizarre and high. Well, it's not strange and bizarre. We know what it is. These high temperatures are the new abnormal. And so we'll get his take on that and what you can do to protect yourself in that regard. I'm grateful to say that Dr. Drummond's in studio. He's usually somewhere running around the halls of a hospital somewhere as a physician scientist. And when he walked in, I about fell out of my chair. He rarely, never gets in studio. But if you're watching us right now, you can see Dr. Robert Drummond in our studio. We'll commence a conversation with him about these matters when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now?
Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with our resident physician, Dr. Robert Drummond, who joins us live in studio right now. Dr. Drummond, good to see you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
If I complain about being in, great, man. You know me. It's good to see you, and I'm glad we got a few minutes to talk about these health issues. Let me start with the obvious question, for me at least. How do we have a COVID spike in the dead of summer?
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about this a number of times over the last few years. This virus, SARS-CoV-2, does not behave like other viruses. We've saw it in multiple ways. And one of that, in this scenario, it doesn't follow seasonal patterns. It follows patterns based on changes in how our bodies are responding to it, meaning our waning immunity, as well as its very, very high mutation rate. So, but it does not follow seasonal patterns. And so we saw that during the pandemic. At the height of it, it would be summer in multiple places around the world, and we would have these spikes that are happening. It just does not care about temperature from that perspective. It doesn't use temperature and changes in temperature as a means to kind of travel from patient to patient.
So beyond the fact that it doesn't respond to seasons, what then do we think are the rationales, the justifications, the reasons is the better word, for why it's happening now?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. One, every time you get exposed to a virus, or you get a vaccine, or you get a booster, you have a bump in the levels of your circulating antibodies that are protecting you against that virus, and then that just kind of drops down over time. The question we've always asked is, how long will those antibodies protect you from a new infection? Early on in the earlier versions, the answer was a long time. Now, the answer is not a long time. So you combine that with these mutations. So right now, the circulating strains that we see are KP2 and KP3. These are the two viral strains that we're seeing that are really kind of circulating right now. They are a part of what we call the FLIRT family, FL lowercase I-R-T. And this is these are descendants of Omicron. So we're still dealing with Omicron, but a very, 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 very highly mutated version, essentially to the point that it's just rendering our old immunity when it comes to preventing an actual infection. It's just kind of rendering that, I don't want to say useless, but not high enough in order to prevent an infection. We probably still have good protection against hospitalization and death. As we see the numbers spiking right now, we don't see hospitalization spiking. We don't see ICU spiking. So the resting immunity that we have right now is really good in terms of keeping us out of the hospital, keeping us from dying, but it's not good enough to keep us from getting what we now kind of know this as being like a non-seasonal flu. Yeah. You're just just like you get in contact with the flu virus, you're gonna get the flu. You get in contact with SARS-CoV-2 now, it's much more of just a typical upper respiratory virus.
Not that I would want the opposite. Indeed, I do not. Let me be clear. I would not want to see deaths increase, obviously. I would not want to see hospitalizations increase, obviously. And yet I wonder whether or not, for those who've never trusted these vaccines to begin with, whether or not that just aids and abets the fact that people don't take this stuff seriously. It kind of reminds me, and you've had this conversation, I know, many times. It's like the Magic Johnson phenomenon with HIV/AIDS. You see where I'm going, right? There were a lot of people. Look how healthy Magic looks. Magic ain't got no HIV. Magic ain't got no AIDS. Never mind what he said. Never mind all the medicines he was on. You look at Magic. Magic looks good. Magic's lived a long time, and so people say, so people look at that, and that becomes Exhibit A for why they don't take that seriously, right? Because Magic looks so good, and Magic is still doing his thing. So you take my point. Hospitalizations are not up. Deaths are not up, and I wonder what that does to the narrative about COVID if that makes sense as a question.
It does make sense. And I would tell you there's two parts to that answer.
Okay.
The first part to that answer is that people have always, throughout this pandemic, there's a select group that have just not taken it seriously. But part of that is because of what I like to call the heterogeneous presentation of this virus.
Okay.
What do I mean by that?
Okay.
If you get the influenza virus, you are going to have symptoms. 100% of people who get influenza virus or come in contact with that have symptoms. That was never the case with SARS-CoV-2. Mm-hmm. Remember, we had cases of individuals who were completely asymptomatic, people who got a little bit sick, and have people who got hospitalized and people who died. That broad range of, I guess you would say, in terms of symptoms and how physically you show those symptoms, leads some people to say, hey, I had COVID and it was nothing. I didn't even know I was infected. Other person said, I had it and I was hospitalized. That weird thing in terms of it's not presenting the same in every single patient allows people to say, I just don't take it seriously. I don't understand what the big hoopla is over there. Whereas the folks on the other side are like, I don't see how you don't take this seriously. I almost died from it. Mm-hmm. So you combine that with the fact that right now our underlying immunity is enough to keep us out of the hospital and to keep us from dying. 100%, you're going to have people who say, I'm not taking this seriously. It's just another thing. To that end, I will say, I want people to take it seriously, but what do I always say? The sky is not falling.
Right.
We know that this is happening. This virus is here to stay. We're going to continue to have these waves. We want to just continue to remain vigilant. And if we do see the hospitalizations rising, the ICUs rising, patients dying, that's when we kind of pivot and start making different decisions. But for right now, the decisions are continue to protect yourself, use hand sanitizer, wash your hands, don't put your hands to your face, etc.
Yep. So the flip side of that conversation is this, and I want to just stand back for a second, give you a chance to respond to how well, all things considered, you think we have handled this this pandemic, this COVID disease. And I asked that, obviously, Donald Trump is in Milwaukee at the Republican convention. We know all the drama that happened on his watch. Biden comes in, does what he does. So both of them have taken credit for handling this pandemic in a way that they think was appropriate. That's the politics of it. And one could certainly critique the Centers for Disease Control and everybody else in this space for giving information one day, changing it a couple of days later. Big Mama said, when you know better, you ought to do better. So I'm trying to give them some leeway in that regard. But all things considered, given that we have survived, that we're still here, to your point, the sky has not fallen. Hospitalizations at the moment are not up. These vaccines appear to have worked. Never mind what certain people think about them; they appear to have worked. That's my way of getting to a simple question, which is, how do you assess, as a physician scientist, the way we have handled the progress we've made? How would you grade us in this period of American and world history in this particular pandemic?
I don't think I can give us any higher than a C.
Wow.
And I'm trying to figure out if it's a C+ or a C-.
Wow.
I think that there are definitely things that the original administration, the Trump administration, did right, and then there's a lot of things that they did wrong. And when the new administration came in, they wanted to make sure that they did the opposite, but I think they were too far on the other side, and there were a lot of things that they did that that weren't ideal also, in terms of the forced boosters, when we had no evidence that they made sense at all, in terms of basically disenfranchising people out of work, out of healthcare organizations, et cetera, if they didn't take the booster, even if they had already had immunity from having the virus, the completely ignoring the idea of innate of the contribution of innate immunity, specifically immunity after infection, and the role that could have played. There's a lot of things that this administration could have done better. So I can't give us any better than a C. C meaning we passed.
Yeah.
We're still alive.
Right.
But a lot of people died on the watch of the Trump administration because they didn't take it serious enough. And a lot of people were disenfranchised, fired from their jobs, and just removed from society on the Biden administration because they didn't take other alternative aspects of care serious enough as well.
You don't often shock me, but you shocked me on that. I thought your grade would be a little bit higher, given that everybody thought this was Armageddon, and it turned out not to be necessarily Armageddon. I thought that you'd give your industry, you're a doctor, I thought you'd give your industry a little bit higher grade, but a C+. I mean, it ain't failing, but it It ain't Dean's List.
Brother Smiley, it's not failing. And that's why I said we did pass. Yeah. There are a lot of individuals in my industry that could have done a lot better. I always look at myself and say, what could I have done more? And I thought I did a pretty good a job. Yeah. There's a lot of misinformation out there from a lot of physicians. A lot of physicians didn't do their homework and they put bad information out. There were physicians out there that were calling for, hey, if you're not vaccinated, we don't want to treat you at the hospital. These are real conversations that were happening amongst a lot of people. Right. So there's a lot of things that I think there's so much that we need to learn. I always say in life, you either win or you learn. I think we did a little bit of both here. Yeah. I hope we learned, because there will be another pandemic, and you just hope that whatever virus that comes next has the mortality rate similar to SARS-CoV-2, which was 2%, versus MERS, which was 30%.
No, you echo the late great Nelson Mandela in that regard. That we don't really lose in life. Either you win or you learn. You don't really lose. You win or you learn. And I accept that frame. Let me just ask you, and I know the answer ostensibly is the inverse of what you just said, but let me ask you anyway, broadly. The next time the world community faces a pandemic, because it will happen again, that's just life, right? Broadly speaking, what could we do to get on the Dean's List? What can we do to get that C+, C minus a little bit higher?
This is a very tall ask. Yeah. First, we got to take politics out of science.
Wow.
We have to approach science and listen to and trust the scientists that have been doing this for 2, 3, 4 decades.
Agreed.
We have to listen to them and take their word as best as we can. We have to trust someone, right? And so take the politics out, let the science guide our decisions and not the politics. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is we have to do a lot better job of education. I still right now see tests in the store that say COVID test. You cannot test for COVID any more than you can test for AIDS. You can test for HIV, meaning you can test for SARS-CoV-2. The test should say SARS-CoV-2 test. Shouldn't say COVID test. And that's part of the miscommunication that was happening. Do I have COVID or do I have SARS-CoV-2? Well, you have SARS-CoV-2, but you're asymptomatic. That's not COVID. It's the physical manifestation of disease that causes that, right? And so, there's a lot that we could have done better in terms of educating the public about the virus and educating the public about the vaccines as well. So those are the things that we have to really take away from and apply to the next pandemic when it happens. Not if, but when it happens.
When it happens, yeah. My last question on this before I spend the last few minutes talking about this extreme heat. You mentioned boosters earlier, and I should probably call my doctor. I think I'm up to date. But I'm laughing because there have been so many versions, so many iterations. I'm not a betting man, but if I were in Vegas right now and were to bet on this, I'd bet that most Americans don't know exactly precisely where they are in the booster process. Would you agree with me on that?
I would agree 100%.
Yeah, I don't think we know where we are because, again, there's been another one and another one and another one. So talk to me about that, that we see the number of COVID cases on the rise on the one hand. On the other hand, I got money, again, that most Americans don't know where they are in the booster shot process now.
Well, I tell you, I wish I had 30 minutes to talk on this, but let me try to do it as quickly as possible. Because my wife says parsimony is not my best subject.
Your wife said that, not me.
Right. Yeah. So what I would say is that when it comes to boosters, we still don't even know what the best regimen is, right? We don't even know what the best method of attack is, meaning we're still thinking about boosters in regards to injections into the arm, which leads to an IgG response, not particularly an IgA response. Now that this is an upper respiratory virus, you need a strong IgA response in the nose to prevent the infection from taking hold.
Right.
This research has already been shown, but we haven't moved towards changing over and trying to do an intranasal vaccine or intranasal booster. So that's one of the things that we need to do. That has to be kind of further researched and developed, and understanding the type of vaccine that's probably best for this current version that has kind of mutated from the original lower respiratory tract version that the original SARS-CoV-2 was to now an upper respiratory virus. You can't treat them both the same, and that's what we're still doing. And then the second thing is what's the new regimen in terms of how often we should do it. Should it be weekly? It's not weekly. Should it be every 6 months because it's not it's not seasonal,
right.
Or should it just be once a year? Is that going to be enough? Those things still have to be taken into consideration, and we haven't done enough research to really have a great grasp on this constantly changing virus.
So for those who are concerned, now that I've said it, about not knowing where they are in the booster process, you say what to them?
I say talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor. Every single person has a different situation. Some individuals that are higher risk probably need more often of a booster to try to prevent what we call symptomatic disease.
Right.
So those individuals should probably have it more often. Individuals that's super healthy and they're taking all their vitamins and they're doing everything that I've told y'all to do throughout this pandemic, you might be okay with once a year or maybe once every other year. But just talk to your primary doctor.
In the 3 minutes I have left, extreme heat. It is, as I said earlier, and I think you agree, the new abnormal. We've been engaged, as you know, around here in a serious climate justice campaign. It's a 12-month campaign. We're still in it. We're still doing conversations. We're still doing events here at my home station in L.A. in Southern California. We had a big event this week. Gave away, I think, a couple thousand, hundreds of portable air conditions for seniors to make sure they can beat the heat this summer. One of my proudest moments as the guy, trying to shepherd this station here in L.A., that we did our part, are doing our part to help our seniors survive the heat this summer. Again, just one of the many things we're doing as part of this year-long climate justice campaign. But in these last couple minutes, what say you to all of us about how to survive these extreme temperatures? Because, again, this is the new abnormal.
So our two most vulnerable, it's a great question. Our two most vulnerable populations, obviously, our elderly population and probably our younger population. Mm-hmm. Younger population, although they're stronger, they're out in the sun, they're playing all the time. We have to make sure we're monitoring that, making sure they're getting as much fluids as they can. And then for our elderly population, as you mentioned, they need to have some more checks. You need to check their environment, check their homes, make sure they have some type of fan circulating, air conditioning, etc. Fluids are going to be the most important thing. You can do water, or you can do some of those fluids with electrolytes. If you do Gatorade, please, my patients with diabetes, don't go out drinking tons of Gatorade. Get the low-calorie version or the sugar-free version. And then the other thing is what to look out for. I think that's the biggest thing I want to make sure folks take away. You should look out for an individual that looks like they're sweaty, so their clammy skin may be clammy. They may be a little dizzy. They may be complaining of nausea. They may have slurred speech. They may actually look drunk. Those are all signs of heat exhaustion, which could then lead over into unconsciousness and heat stroke. So biggest thing you can do for those individuals, take some cold rags, put it on the back of their neck, pull them out of the heat, get them out of whatever heat environment that they're in. For the kids, limit the amount of time that they're out there in the sun, make sure they have fluids. I think those are some good things that folks can take away.
They say you can tell a Morehouse man,
but you can't tell him much.
You can't tell him much. In this case, he's earned the right to tell us much because he knows of what he speaks, because he is a physician scientist, and I always tease him about that Morehouse thing. His name is Dr. Robert Drummond. He is our resident physician. I'm always honored to have him on to empower us with the information that we can use to make better decisions and ultimately live better and longer lives. Dr. Drummond, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Welcome to a Wednesday. It's July 17th. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Memorial service plans have been announced for the man who was killed in the Trump assassination attempt. Corey Comparator was shot to death at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania Saturday while shielding his family from the bullets that were apparently meant for Trump. A public visitation will be held tomorrow afternoon, and a private funeral service will be held Friday. In Minnesota, a new Minneapolis Department of Civil Rights director was sworn in after a unanimous confirmation. African-American Michelle Phillips, who previously worked in Oakland, California and Baltimore, Maryland, aims to lead the department toward equitable and just services for residents and business owners. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over 100,000 five-star reviews. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are hiring the first female assistant coach in franchise history. Lindsey Harding, an assistant with the Sacramento Kings the past 5 years, is leaving the Kings to join the staff of new Lakers coach J.J. Redick. The 40-year-old Harding also coaches the Stockton Kings in the G League. Last season, she was named G League Coach of the Year. Harding was the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft in 2007 and played 9 seasons in the league. Harding becomes the 4th female assistant in the NBA. Today is another opportunity to evaluate Bronny James with the Lakers rookie team. The Lakers are playing the Atlanta Hawks rookies in the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. Atlanta's first-round pick Zachary Rasacher of France will be in the lineup. Rasacher was the #1 pick in the NBA draft in June. Tip-off time tonight at 6:30 on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Just a few short months ago, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed 11 felony charges against Diana Turan, an assistant district attorney for Los Angeles County. The charges allege that Turan unlawfully accessed confidential computer data, including police officer files in 2018, and continued to use them after joining the DA's office in 2021. Ironically, Turan, who is now on administrative leave, oversaw the Public Integrity Division responsible for handling high-profile cases of police misconduct and public corruption, including the charges brought against LA City Council member Karen Price last June. To be sure, the case against Price has raised plenty of eyebrows. Indeed, one noted legal scholar has said publicly, and I quote, "Everything about this prosecution reeks," close quote. Could AG Bonta, with aspirations to become California governor, be punishing Turan for her role in DA George Gascon's police accountability agenda to curry favor with police unions? Could DA Gascon be using the case against Price to showcase his tough stance on crime and political corruption as he vies to retain his seat as DA? Honestly, I have no idea, but here's what I know for sure. Karen Price has been elected and re-elected by thousands of voters, mostly black and brown, who stand to be further disenfranchised if this matter is not handled correctly, which is why it matters to us at KBLA Talk 1580. When the prosecutor is being prosecuted, it seems to me that at the very least, there ought to be a thorough, top-to-bottom, independent review of all cases under Diana Turan's purview to ensure that none of these cases have been tainted. Justice and fundamental fairness demand no less, if public trust truly matters. And I hope it does. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your feedback.
I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
A Gain Scent Bead story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said, "Maraca, senor," but his nose said, Hey, freshest scent ever. Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain scent beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, "Sir, your scent maracas smell amazing." Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain scent beads. Try Gain scent beads. Way fresher than detergent alone.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We conclude today's program this last half hour in dialogue with the president of Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship, David Jenkins, who I hope to get his take about the ultra MAGA Trump Vance ticket. J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate, will speak tonight at the RNC in Milwaukee. So I want to get his take on the ticket, as it were. And we'll talk a bit about the future of conservatism in these last 30 minutes. David Jenkins, good to have you on this program. How are you today, sir?
Just fine. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on. Let me start with this question. Tell me about Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship. What does that mean? Tell me about the work of the organization. Just talk to me about that part for starters so we're on the same page here.
Yeah, well, the name pretty much says it all. We're a national organization of conservatives who champion common sense stewardship and conservation. And that's because we believe that stewardship and conservation are inherently conservative. Mm-hmm. And we have about 25,000 members nationwide. And, if you look back, it's not an accident that the word conservative and the word conservation come from the same root word, conserve. Mm-hmm. And throughout our history, what that has meant, we've seen reflected by people like Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, even Nixon, in terms of their attitude toward the environment and our natural resources. But what people label conservative nowadays, whether it's the media or whether it's politicians who want to wear the conservative label to get extra credibility, a lot of times it doesn't resemble traditional conservatism at all. I would not call it a conservative. So, that's where we're at right now. And but we hew to the traditional conservatism that you would think of, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from in the past.
No, that's important for the audience to understand what this organization is, what you're about, and what you do. Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship is the name, and the president is David Jenkins. Pleased to have him as our guest right now. We were just talking to our resident physician, Dr. Robert Drummond, a moment ago about climate, specifically about extreme heat and how we are going to, in the days, weeks, and months ahead, navigate this extreme heat that's already taking hold literally all across the country from California to the Carolinas. So we'll get back to the conservation piece a little bit later in this conversation. But to your point about conservatism and conservation and that root word conserve, we know that in Milwaukee right now, where the GOP is meeting, again on the eve of J.D. Vance's speech this evening, Donald Trump's speech tomorrow night, Republicans struck from their platform any reference to climate. It was completely struck from the platform. So in the Republican platform, you will find no reference to climate, to global warming, and the like. Does not exist in their platform. It's important to say that at the outset of this conversation. So that said, give me your take on this ultra MAGA Trump Vance ticket.
Well, speaking more in general about the platform and that kind of thing, back in 1988, when Ronald Reagan was president, would you believe climate change was actually mentioned in the platform? It was called was called something different then. It was called greenhouse effect. Mm-hmm. But it was mentioned in the platform as something we had to research and get to the bottom of. When Senator McCain ran for president in 2008, that platform, I actually worked on the platform committee. That platform mentioned climate and talked about our responsibility to deal with that. And I could understand where the political right was when we were relying so much on scientific models and things like that, talking about what the climate future is going to be. People would be skeptical. I can understand that. They couldn't see it themselves. But look where we're at today. I mean, heck, last summer the waters off of Florida reached ocean water. It reached 104 degrees. I've gotten in hot tubs that are cooler than that. At Phoenix, Arizona, with last year with, practically the whole summer was over 110 degrees. And you guys are experiencing it there in LA as well. And so we're seeing all these things that were predicted by the models, 20, 30 years ago. And one of the original real champions of trying to address climate change and, make sure that we've got a world that's safe and healthy for our children and grandchildren was Margaret Thatcher. One of Reagan's best friends and a smart conservative. She went and spoke at all the climate conferences talking about how it's our responsibility. And Reagan had words about that too. He said, when he talking about our environment, he said, this is our patrimony. This is what we leave to our children.
So what?
Responsibility.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to jump in right quick. You've laid that out beautifully. So what then do you make of the turn, or the U-turn, as it were, the U-turn that conservatives, so-called conservatives, Republicans, have made in this regard? You mentioned Reagan. You mentioned the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher. There are others you could mention. But as I said a moment ago, there is no reference to global warming. There is no reference to climate change in the Republican platform. So they've done a U-turn, and they are ignoring the science. How do you read that as a conservative?
Well, it seems like that a lot of people on the political right are not actually conservative. They're more libertarian. And libertarians are, a famous conservative philosopher, Russell Kirk, said, well, the devil was the original libertarian. Basically, it says you can do whatever you want to. You don't have to be responsible for anything. Just whatever. And it even harkens back to the 60s with the political left, where it was if it feels good, do it was kind of the motto, right? With the anti-war movement and hippie culture and stuff like that. Well, we're seeing the exact same thing on the political right today. It's just labeled conservative for some reason. It's like I should be able to do whatever I want, and nobody should be able to. There's no moral responsibility. There's no a duty to society, to our children and grandchildren. How can you explain continuing to bury your head in the sand about climate change when all you got to do is turn on the news every day and records are being broken all over the place? Storms are generating faster in the warm ocean waters. So we have this is right in front of our face, and being in denial is the last thing. It's the furthest thing from conservatism.
Yeah. It's that old joke that denial is more than just a river in Egypt. Denial is more than just a river in Egypt. When we come forward, given your apparent disappointment, and I don't want to say disdain or disgust, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You can tell me when we come forward in your own words. But given your disappointment, whatever the word is, in Republicans right now, in so-called conservatives right now, in the GOP meeting right now, Milwaukee, as J.D. Vance speaks tonight, and endorses a platform that does not mention climate, does not mention global warming, all out ignores our reality, denies the science. That's the platform you're getting in Milwaukee right about now. So the obvious question then is, what does the president of conservatives for responsible stewardship think of Joe Biden and his stewardship, as it were, on these particular climate issues? We'll get his take on that part when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys. Let's take our auntie to the swap meet. Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% plus finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, the president of Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship, David Jenkins, is our guest right now. So, David, watching my time is getting away from me here. So, clearly, you're not enamored by the position or lack thereof that Republicans have taken on these climate issues, given that there is, again, no reference to it in their platform, no reference to climate change, global warming, nothing. How do you think Joe Biden is done stewarding on matters of climate?
Well, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I mean, he's certainly done some good things. They're investing a lot in renewable energy and new technologies to take advantage of new battery technology that'll help with electric vehicles and building out the charging networks and things like that. And the thing that people don't realize right now is that from a standpoint of the energy market, solar, wind, and nuclear actually outperform coal and natural gas when it comes to electricity generation in terms of cost. It's cheaper, much cheaper. So the Biden administration has been doing some good things there. The other thing that's kind of weird, though, is that I constantly hear on whether it's Fox News or politicians and stuff claim that oil production in the U.S. is down and that we're no longer energy independent. I hear it when I speak to groups and stuff. It's like it's built in. In fact, the opposite is true. We're producing a record-breaking 13 million barrels per day of oil, more than ever before, more than the prior administration, more than any other country, including Saudi Arabia and Russia. And no other country has even come close to 13 million barrels a day, and we're expected to top 14 million barrels a day before the end of this year. So, if you're worried about climate, you look at that oil production under the current administration, and you're like, well, that's a lot. We're pumping a lot of stuff. A lot of times when I'm talking about climate, I'm talking to faith groups, and I say, if you believe God invented, God created the heavens and the earth, there's something called the carbon cycle. And that's where, excess carbon is absorbed through trees and stuff and put in the ground and eventually sequestered down in the ground over a long period of time. But what we're doing with oil is we're digging that up and burning it and putting it right back in the air. So it's like, okay, is that really what we should be doing? We might want to try to limit that a little bit. And one thing that we preach, because it really follows the conservative values, is diversifying your portfolio. So if you're talking about your retirement, you diversify your stocks, your mutual funds, and stuff like that. Well, the same thing's with energy. We can't put all of our eggs in one basket. We need to diversify more. And right now, it's way out of balance with coal, natural gas, the oil use in the transportation sector. We're really relying heavily on these fuels that are globally traded and we can't control the price of. But things like solar and wind and nuclear, no matter what happens in the world, those prices will stay stable because they're produced here. And the fuel is free in respect to wind and solar. So the administration, going all in on oil, it's contrary to what was promised, I guess, back when they're running for president. But at the same time, we got stuff overseas happening that means other countries are relying more on us for these.
Now, I hear your point about a mixed bag with Joe Biden, and nobody says that Joe Biden is perfect. He ain't God. He doesn't walk on water, and he's not been right on every single issue. But I guess the question is whether conservatives for responsible stewardship side with the guy who has a mixed bag, or sides with the guy who's ignoring it altogether in his platform. That's the question. Our remaining moments with David Jenkins, president of Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive, unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Finding a path to a meaningful career, one where you're making an impact and making enough money, it can be tough. There's one path, though, that many young adults are landing on that leads them to careers where they can work outdoors, protect our environment, take on climate change, and get paid while they train. It's the California Conservation Corps. You just have to be 18 through 25 years old to enroll, or a U.S. military veteran through age 29, and you have to be a California resident. That's it. There's no education requirement, no employment history needed. Some Corps members need to finish up high school. Others are college grads. But during their 1 year of service, all CCC Corps members can earn the work experience and certifications needed to become a wildland firefighter, forestry technician, install solar, or build trails in our state parks. Learn how you can enroll at ccc.ca.gov. Do this for you. Become the person you want to be through the California Conservation Corps.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PATH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PATH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PATH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
It occurs to me, David Jenkins, Mr. President of the Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship, that's his organization. It occurs to me that you are not unlike, your organization may not be unlike many Americans today who are not altogether excited about the two choices that they have. Big piece in the Washington Post a week or two ago, they called them double haters. They don't like either one of these guys. And so you refer to Joe Biden as having a mixed bag on these issues of conservation and climate and global warming, etc. I repeat again, the Republican Party has altogether ignored this issue in its platform. So what is an organization like Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship to do in a critical moment like this?
Well, we're a nonprofit organization, and our tax status doesn't really allow us to weigh in on candidates.
I get it. Yeah.
However, with there's a number of things the current administration has been doing that's very positive. The new methane rule that's trying to get control of methane, which is a very powerful global warming gas, and oil and gas reforms that not only protect the environment but really protect taxpayers, like bonding reform to help deal with the orphan well problem we have, and those things not being plugged and stuff, which also emits methane and greenhouse gases and other pollution. So there's a lot of good stuff going on, and certainly, we would be on a different stance in terms of trying to defend what current policies exist under assuming that if there was another administration that was like the one previous to this one, it's really all about making money and nothing about conservation and stewardship. It's just everything is monetized, and that's a real problem, because even when you've got better policies coming out, the money factor comes in and shades everything. And what we want people to do is we think conservatism means do the right thing, act responsibly for our children and our grandchildren that are coming after us. Don't just worry about getting as rich as you can right now, no matter, and say the heck with what comes down the road. I mean, I have children. Maybe one day I'll have grandchildren, but I want a nice world for them, and I don't want to them to be living in a climate situation that's even worse than what we're experiencing right now.
Yep.
So we have a moral responsibility, and that to me is true conservatism.
On that last point, we all agree. We do have a moral responsibility, and we all want the same things that you want. We want for our kids and our grandkids the same things you want for your kids and grandkids, and that is a world that they can inhabit without having to be suffocated by the heat or drink dirty water or breathe nasty air. We all want the same things in that regard, but it's abundantly clear to me that in this particular moment, that at least one person gets that and the other person doesn't, your nonprofit status notwithstanding. He's David Jenkins, the president of the Conservatives for Responsible Stewardship. I've been honored to have had him on this program. Thanks for your time, sir, and for your work. All the best to you.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for listening to Tavis Smiley, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Welcome to a Wednesday. It's July 17th. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Memorial service plans have been announced for the man who was killed in the Trump assassination attempt. Corey Comparator was shot to death at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania Saturday while shielding his family from the bullets that were apparently meant for Trump. A public visitation will be held tomorrow afternoon, and a private funeral service will be held Friday. In Minnesota, a new Minneapolis Department of Civil Rights director was sworn in after a unanimous confirmation. African-American Michelle Phillips, who previously worked in Oakland, California and Baltimore, Maryland, aims to lead the department toward equitable and just services for residents and business owners. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over 100,000 five-star reviews. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are hiring the first female assistant coach in franchise history. Lindsey Harding, an assistant with the Sacramento Kings the past 5 years,